John Deere, the iconic green and yellow brand that built America's farmlands, is in big trouble. And no, it's not just about tractors anymore. What they just did might change everything you thought you knew about this company. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss this shocking story. For over 180 years, John Deere has been the trusted name for America's farmers. From humble plows to cutting-edge machinery, it's more than a brand. It's a symbol of resilience and innovation. But now, the legacy of that familiar leaping deer is at risk. Why? Because John Deere made a move that's angering thousands, maybe even you. Let's dive into what's really happening, and trust me, this goes far beyond the field. But first, let me ask, when was the last time you truly owned something you bought? Think about that while we break this down. John Deere recently made headlines for enforcing something called right-to-repair restrictions. If you're not familiar, these are rules that make it nearly impossible for customers to fix their own equipment without going through the company's pricey repair channels. Imagine buying a car, but you're banned from taking it to your trusted local mechanic or even popping the hood yourself. What's next? A subscription fee to turn your tractor on? Don't laugh, that might actually happen. But this isn't just about frustration. For many, it's financial survival. When your livelihood depends on machinery that costs upwards of $800,000, you can't afford to sit idle waiting for corporate approval to fix a broken part. And here's the twist. John Deere isn't just losing favor with farmers, they're drawing attention from some very powerful players. Wait until you hear who's stepping into this fight. Lawmakers, consumer rights groups, and even tech giants have jumped into the right-to-repair debate, and John Deere has become the poster child for what many are calling corporate overreach. Multiple states are now considering legislation that could force companies like Deere to allow independent repairs. And if that's not enough pressure, farmers are organizing nationwide boycotts. If you've ever seen a tractor parade protest, you know these folks mean business. Forget pitchforks, they've got combines. But here's the kicker. Could John Deere's troubles actually spark a larger revolution in the automotive industry? Stay tuned. This isn't just a John Deere issue. As cars, appliances, and even medical devices become more tech-driven, more companies are trying to lock customers out of repairs. Today it's a tractor. Tomorrow it might be your electric car or your smart refrigerator. Here's the question is, where do we draw the line? And as more industries embrace this trend, consumers are starting to push back in ways that might actually force change. But before we get too optimistic, let's talk about what's really at stake for John Deere and why their next move could either save or sink them entirely. John Deere is at a crossroads. On one hand, they're doubling down on their current model, betting that their dominance in the industry will shield them from backlash. On the other hand, if the pressure from farmers, lawmakers, and the public keeps growing, they may have no choice but to adapt. Hey, maybe they'll even make a tractor that's Wi-Fi enabled and repair-friendly. Fingers crossed. What's clear is that the stakes have never been higher. Will John Deere rise to the challenge and reinvent themselves, or will they become a cautionary tale in the history of American industry? So what do you think? Should John Deere change its ways, or do you see their side of the story? After all, the road ahead is looking pretty bumpy for Deere, but maybe that's fitting for a company built on rough terrain. But there's another side to this story. John Deere has also been accused of environmental neglect. Critics claim the company has failed to address the sustainability challenges posed by its machinery, from high fuel consumption to outdated emission standards. John Deere's equipment is efficient, but it comes at a cost to the planet. Farmers are calling for greener alternatives, but the company's response has been slow, and it doesn't stop there. Accusations of monopolistic practices have sparked investigations, with some questioning whether John Deere's dominance is stifling competition in the agricultural technology market. Despite these challenges, farmers are finding ways to fight back. Communities are coming together, sharing knowledge, and even developing open-source solutions to bypass restrictions. We're not just going to stand by. This is our livelihood, and we're going to protect it. The fight for the future of farming is far from over, and the resilience of these communities is inspiring a broader movement. So what's next for John Deere? The company faces a choice: double down on its current practices, or listen to the growing demands for change. The future of farming, and perhaps John Deere itself, hangs in the balance. One thing's for sure, the world is watching. John Deere's troubles aren't confined to the United States. Around the globe, farmers in Europe, Asia, and Africa are raising concerns about restrictive repair policies. We rely on these machines, but when they break, we're at the mercy of the manufacturers. It's unfair. This growing international movement is shining a spotlight on the broader implications of corporate control in agriculture. Could John Deere's practices lead to a global reckoning? As technology advances, the agricultural industry is at a crossroads. John Deere has invested heavily in cutting-edge innovations, but critics argue these advancements could deepen the divide between large-scale operations and small farmers. Yet amidst these challenges, the farming community is fighting back. Across the globe, farmers are innovating, forming cooperatives and finding ways to circumvent restrictions. Could this grassroots resilience reshape the industry and force companies like John Deere to rethink their strategies? We're not just waiting for solutions from big corporations, we're creating them ourselves. John Deere's troubles are not confined to the United States. Across the globe, farmers in countries like India, Brazil, and South Africa are voicing similar concerns about repair restrictions, high costs, and the lack of local support. International protests are growing louder. Could this global backlash signal a turning point for the agricultural giant, forcing it to address these issues on a worldwide scale? As lawsuits mount, John Deere's legal troubles have begun to escalate. Courts across the U.S. and abroad are debating whether the company's practices violate antitrust laws and consumer rights. If these cases go against John Deere, it could set a precedent that reshapes the entire industry. The company is caught between two worlds. While some farmers demand more traditional repairable machines, others are embracing cutting-edge innovations. Can John Deere strike a balance, or will it alienate one side of its customer base? This conflict could define the company's identity for years to come. As John Deere grapples with these challenges, competitors are seizing the opportunity to grow. Companies offering more affordable and sustainable solutions are rapidly gaining market share. Could this be the era where smaller, more agile companies finally topple the industry giant? Despite the turmoil, John Deere has a chance to redefine itself. By listening to farmers, embracing sustainability, and addressing repair concerns, the company could secure its future. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear. The decisions made today will determine John Deere's legacy tomorrow. John Deere's future hangs in the balance. The company faces mounting challenges from lawsuits to competition, environmental concerns to technological upheaval. Will it adapt and emerge stronger? Or could this be the beginning of the end for one of America's most iconic brands? To understand the present challenges, we must look to the past. John Deere revolutionized agriculture in the 19th century with its steel plow, a tool that transformed farming practices. But now, in the 21st century, the company faces the opposite challenge, staying relevant in a rapidly changing industry. Can the company draw inspiration from its own history to innovate and thrive once more? Government policies and regulations are playing an increasingly significant role in shaping the future of farming. From subsidies for sustainable practices to laws mandating repair rights, these measures could alter the playing field for John Deere and its competitors. Will these policies push John Deere to adapt, or will they add even more pressure to an already burdened company? This episode features Gail Natcham, a senior food scientist and researcher in training. Across the globe, small farmers are banding together, leveraging their collective power to demand fair treatment and better tools. Co-ops and community-driven initiatives are becoming a lifeline for those feeling left behind by corporate giants. We're not powerless. Together we can create a future that works for all farmers, not just the big corporations. As agriculture becomes increasingly digitized, companies are racing to develop the next big innovation. From blockchain for crop tracking to drone technology for precision farming, the competition is fierce. The question is whether John Deere can maintain its lead in this digital arms race, or if it will fall behind newer, more agile tech firms. At the core of this story are the farmers. The people who feed the world. Their struggles, hopes, and resilience are what drive this industry forward. John Deere's future doesn't just depend on technology or policy. It depends on how well it serves the very people who built its legacy. John Deere's future hangs in the balance. The company faces mounting challenges, from lawsuits to competition, environmental concerns to technological upheaval. Will it adapt and emerge stronger, or could this be the beginning of the end for one of America's most iconic brands? What do you think? Is John Deere doomed? Or can it weather the storm? For nearly 2 centuries, John Deere has stood as a beacon of innovation in agriculture. It all began in 1837, when a blacksmith named John Deere revolutionized farming with his self-scouring steel plow. This breakthrough turned America's vast prairies into fertile farmland, and the company's commitment to serving farmers became its defining mission. Over the decades, John Deere became synonymous with reliability, quality, and trust. Farmers across generations depended on the brand not just for its cutting-edge equipment, but for its promise of enduring performance. Whether it was surviving droughts, floods, or economic downturns, John Deere machinery stood resilient, embodying the hard-working spirit of agriculture itself. But today, this legacy is at a crossroads. Can the company honor its past while embracing the future? Or will its rich history become a relic of a bygone era? John Deere's future hangs in the balance. The company faces mounting challenges from lawsuits to competition, environmental concerns to technological upheaval. Will it adapt and emerge stronger? Or could this be the beginning of the end for one of America's most iconic brands? The John Deere right to repair controversy centers on the agricultural equipment manufacturer's restrictions on farmers' ability to repair their own machinery. For years, farmers and independent repair technicians have voiced frustration over John Deere's use of proprietary software, which locks down the machinery and prevents owners from making repairs without going through authorized dealers. This issue has gained traction as modern tractors and harvesters increasingly rely on advanced electronics and software, creating a dependency on the manufacturer for diagnostics and fixes. Critics argue that these restrictions not only inflate repair costs, but also limit farmers' autonomy over equipment they have purchased. At the heart of the controversy is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and its application to embedded software and machinery. John Deere claims that its software is protected intellectual property, and unauthorized access could lead to liability issues or even safety concerns. However, many see this stance as a way to monopolize the repair industry, forcing farmers to pay premium prices for services that could otherwise be performed independently. This dynamic has raised broader questions about ownership rights. Does purchasing a machine mean owning all aspects of it, including the software that controls its functionality? The movement advocating for right-to-repair legislation has gained momentum across the U.S., with activists arguing that such laws would ensure fair competition in the repair market. Farmers have testified before state legislatures, sharing stories of costly delays during critical planting and harvesting seasons caused by their inability to repair equipment on site. Supporters of right-to-repair legislation believe these laws would reduce downtime, lower costs, and empower owners by allowing access to diagnostic tools, manuals, and software needed for repairs. John Deere has made some concessions, including agreements to provide certain diagnostic tools to farmers and independent repair shops. However, critics argue these measures fall short of addressing the core issue, as many of the tools offered remain limited in functionality compared to what authorized dealers have access to. The company has also faced lawsuits and public scrutiny, with some accusing it of prioritizing profits over the interests of its customers and the agricultural community at large. These legal and public battles have turned the company into a symbol of the broader debate over repair rights in an increasingly digital age. The implications of the John Deere controversy extend beyond agriculture, resonating in other industries reliant on digital technology, such as automotive and consumer electronics. As machines across all sectors become more software dependent, the right-to-repair movement has become a rallying cry for consumers and advocates seeking to push back against corporate control. Climate change, whether through legislative changes, public pressure, or industry self-regulation, the outcome of this debate could redefine what it means to own technology in the 21st century. The controversy surrounding John Deere's repair restrictions highlights a deeper divide between corporate interests and consumer rights. On one side, John Deere defends its practices by emphasizing safety and security concerns. Economic repercussions further fuel the debate, particularly in rural communities where farming is a cornerstone industry. Delays caused by repair bottlenecks at authorized dealers can lead to financial losses during critical periods, such as planting or harvesting seasons. These delays often force farmers to rent replacement equipment, adding to their operational costs. In contrast, independent repair options could offer faster, more affordable solutions. The lack of competition in the repair market, exacerbated by John Deere's policies, has led some farmers to consider alternative brands or older, less technologically advanced equipment to regain autonomy over their operations. In response to mounting pressure, John Deere has tried to strike a balance by rolling out limited repair solutions, such as providing software updates and diagnostic access. In 2023, the company announced a memorandum of understanding with the American Farm Bureau Federation, promising to make repair tools more accessible. While this was seen as a step forward, many farmers remain skeptical, pointing out that the agreement lacks enforceability and fails to address the broader issue of full repair freedom.